Baroda-based Indian artist SHELLY JYOTI and Chicago-based artist LAURA KINAS exhibition Indigo draws upon India's history, narratives of immigration, and transnational economic interchanges.
Indigo Narratives features sculpture, installation, and paintings that incorporate hand-embroidered textiles, ajrak printing on khadi, and Sanskrit calligraphy. My narratives are inspired by the accounts of the tyranny of British colonial indigo planters on native farmers of Champaran and Mahatma Gandhi's subsequent intervention in Bihar in 1917-18, the first satyagraha led by Gandhi on Indian soil after his fight against racialism in South Africa. Stop growing indigo, we will fight. We need wheat and rice to survive. For the dying farmers who gave their lives to grow indigo plant, the blood that spilled in the fields of blue is the blood that stained the chest of indigos to reach England. Do we need another Mahatma to fight for the 21st century farmers? The blues of indigo or the moods of indigo. The works engage textile references of coastal Gujarat, literary texts such as Neel Darpan, along with references to indigo plant, color, dye through history of India's colonial past. This whole installation is of 86 circular discs. The 5 feet high site-specific installation display parallels of circle hanging 7 inches diameter with sets of 15 different contemporary indigo prints. The installation maps the narrative of suffering of native farmers of the deltaic region and is suggestive of accounts of oppression on the farmers. It also gives the reference of one of the mightiest peasant revolts in the subcontinent. The works draw upon India's colonial past but are also engaged with contemporary economic interchanges.
Devon Avenue Sampler is a portrait of my polycultural immigrant neighborhood in Chicago. It features street signs and imagery from Chicago's Devon Avenue, where Orthodox Jews, Hindus, Muslims, and Christians all live. This urban South Asian Jewish corridor is lined with jewelers, ethnic grocery stores, bakeries, spice shops, restaurants, colorful sari shops, travel and tour services, cell phone, electronics, luggage shops, beauty shops advertising eyebrow threading mehendi, and even a baseball field.
For this particular work, I sewed a background out of different assorted fabrics, and then I hand painted on the top of it. And the form of this is inspired by Japanese boro quilts. So this would be a kind of folk quilt that was made out of used kimonos and things.
SHELLY JYOTI is a fashion and textile designer, visual artist and poet who has been working with textile workers and traditional crafts for a long time. Her research interest in the history of textile and design has led her to Indigo, a visual art project. LAURA KINAS is a visual artist and an associate professor of art, media and design at DePaul University, whose research focuses on Asian American studies and multiracial representations. Brooklyn and Sharjah-based art critic Murtaza Wali has described LAURA KINAS' art as a genre of pop art with a distinctly post-colonial edge. Sharing a mutual interest in textile design, pattern, decoration, and Asian history, the two artists began collaborating in 2008 around the theme of indigo.
In the 19th century, Bengal was the largest producer of indigo. Not a chest of indigo reached England without being stained with human blood. An Englishman in Bengal civil service is said to have commented,
But today, the deep blue color of indigo is synthetically created in a lab and is associated, in the West, with blue jeans more than its torrid colonial past.
But indigo holds a sustained presence in the post-colonial identity of India. The use of ajrak printing on khadi utilizes indigo techniques, which are used by Khatris, the immigrants from Sindh and Baluchistan during 1600 CE. Through this process, I examine the implications of personal, political, and cross-cultural choices of these communities. I worked with the 9th and the 10th generation ajrak artisans in Bhuj in the interiors of Gujarat on khadi fabric with the ancient indigo resist printing techniques. My designs, however, are entirely contemporary interpretations of the politics of indigo. By incorporating traditional design motifs of different clans by artisans from the women's collectives such as Shrujan, Threads of Life, and thus helping contribute towards providing sustainable means of income for some of India's underprivileged women. To me, textiles created for artwork performs a great sense of preservation as a visual medium for documentation purpose than compared to the functional textiles. Both have symbolic purposes. My artwork challenges me to apply this vision of traditional pattern block and color in the context of a socially and environmentally responsible design practice. Through my contemporary design motifs and presentation, I strive to present the viewer with a heritage so rich and color so historically meaningful in today's context of technique and its conservation.
American artist LAURA Kina's Divan Avenue Sampler series uses the color indigo blue to focus on street signs and imagery from her South Asian Jewish immigrant neighborhood in Chicago. New York art historian Michelle Lee has written that in Kina's works, the blending of cultures is dizzying. Kina's work brings forth diaspora in all its colorful vivacity and yet invokes the struggles inherent in migration and relocation.
Using indigo dyed thread on khadi fabric, two materials long associated with Mahatma Gandhi and symbolic of India's freedom movement from British colonization, along with a generous dose of Gujarat-styled mirrored bling and Jewish-inspired prayer shawl fringes, my samplings of Divan Avenue street signs have been hand-embroidered by artisans from Marketplace, Handwork of India. Marketplace is a fair trade women's collective based in Mumbai. They are an innovative fair trade, not-for-profit organization dedicated to increasing economic opportunities for low-income women in India and empowering them to bring about changes in their lives, their families, and communities. In addition to the obvious content of immigration and cultural hybridity, my works explore outsourcing and sampling. The use of the word sampler in the series title, Divan Avenue Sampler, thus refers to both embroidery samples and sampling as in cultural appropriation.
Indigo is ultimately a dialogue between two women of different cultures, one Indian and one American, around a common theme, indigo. The present project by these two artists become all the more important, especially when we come to know that there is no existing visual documentation on Gandhiji's involvement in Champaran. For the first time in history, Champaran movement and its peculiar connection with indigo is given a visual representation by two contemporary artists.